In this video, I'm going to summarize all 13 methods I've shared in previous videos about how to get yourself to pray on time, every time. It is virtually impossible to use any one of these methods without eventually being in a position where you're praying 5 times a day. But if you use all of these methods, it's going to be incredible. It'll be absolutely inevitable by the grace of God that you will pray 5 times a day, inshallah. So here we go. I'm going to run through them from 1 to 13. The first tip is to do the tick box exercise. Write a list of the days of the month. Get a piece of paper, the days of the month, 1 to 31 down one side, and then FZAMI across the top, and fill in the boxes. Put an X in the box. That way you're keeping track and you know how many prayers you're doing, and you know as they increase over time, and eventually you're left with a record that you can go back and check out so that you can make up missed prayers far in the future after praying 5 times a day is the norm for you. Number 2, watch videos and read books. During the period of time where you're focusing just on getting yourself to pray 5 times a day, make sure that you read as many books about prayer as you can and watch as many videos by imams and shayukh about prayers, only on the topic of prayer. Don't get distracted with all the other topics, just focus on that one. Number 3, learn the words of prayer. Find a good translation for Surah Fatiha. You might like the one in my book, Inside the Soul of Islam. Memorize the meaning of each of the Arabic words that you say in prayer. This will only take you about 10 minutes a day, and you'll only have to do it once in your life. And after that, in every prayer that you make for the whole of the rest of your life, your prayer will have improved because you'll know what you're saying and it'll be more meaningful to you. Number 4, start with one prayer. You might dive into the deep end and try and get yourself to pray 5 times a day. And prayer is a habit. And as with all habits, the more you do it, the easier it becomes to do it more. So some people try and dive in and do 5 prayers a day, but the prophetic methodology is to do small but regular. So the simplest thing you can do if you're starting out is to start with one prayer, and after a few days increase to 2 prayers a day, and pretty soon you'll be doing 5 prayers a day, and pretty soon you'll be doing 5 prayers a day on time every time, and then you can go back and make up the missed ones. Number 5, the 40-day challenge. Isa alayhi salam taught his followers to do Lent. Musa alayhi salam, the prophet Moses, was invited up to Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. Give yourself a 40-day challenge where your only occupation, you're going to forget all of your other goals for 40 days straight, and you're just going to focus on the prayer goal. It turns out the 40-day challenge, which was recommended by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf and Imam Zaid Shakir in a great little book called Agenda to Change Our Condition, the 40-day challenge you can do for prayer. And just note that you might not complete 40 days of doing every prayer on time, every time in the first 40 days. The first 40 days, you might do 1 or 2 prayers on time. In the next 40 days, you might do 4 prayers on time. And then eventually you'll be in a position where you're doing 5 prayers on time, every time, with all the sunnah, inshallah. So the 40-day test is key. Number 6, block time. When you have a work appointment, you block it into your calendar and then you just show up for the appointment. That's what I do. I'm a professional coach. If you book in a session with me, I'm going to show up on time for the session. Why? Because it's in my calendar. So take a 15-minute block of time and schedule it into your calendar during each of the prayer times. You're almost guaranteed by that alone, if you work from a calendar, that'll almost certainly work to get you to remind you to pray on time. Number 7, make the intention that every prayer is there to fill you with love and presence and gratitude. Presence is the essence of prayer. Hudur al-qalb, as Al-Ghazali calls it, rahimahullah. Presence of heart. Love, you start the prayer with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most loving, the most benevolent. You're filling yourself up with divine love as you pray. And gratitude, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, is the essence of the prayer. The more you fill yourself up with these qualities, the more the prayer will energize and recharge you, and the more you're going to be interested in doing it more. Number 8, no guilt, right? No guilt. Guilt is a cop-out. Guilt is an excuse the nafs makes so that you feel like you're not a bad person even though you're not doing the prayer. So it's like, what most people do is they miss the prayer and then they're like, oh, but I feel guilty. Oh, I'm such a bad Muslim. Well, never mind. Guilt isn't a great motivation source to get you to pray more. Love of Allah, gratitude to Allah, presence. If you get yourself into a mindset of love, gratitude, and presence, you're much more likely to pray more frequently. If you're just operating by guilt, it's a low level of consciousness and it's not a very good source of motivation, as proven by the fact that when people don't pray 5 times a day, they say, oh, I feel really guilty, I'm not praying, right? How's that guilt working out for you? It's obviously not working. If it was, you'd be praying. It doesn't work very well. Okay, and take this from somebody who's done literally thousands and thousands of coaching sessions with Muslims, most of whom, one of their goals is to pray 5 times a day, and many of whom have been successful. The big key here is go for love and gratitude and presence rather than guilt. Number 9, if you ever need to pray in public, firstly, if you're around a shopping center, go into the changing room. And secondly, if you're ever in public, make sure you have a portable prayer mat with you and a tasbih and a hat, and lay it on the ground, and don't try and hide the fact that you're praying. Be confident as you're doing the prayer, and actually people will be impressed and they'll see you as a source of light and love in the world, and versus seeing you as like, it's a little bit weird. If you're in the West, it might be seen as a little bit weird, but the fact that you're doing it with all of your energy and intention, and you're not like hiding away in a corner, it brings a certain beauty to the prayer that people will often appreciate. In my experience, you'll feel a lot better about the prayers generally, and other people will come and talk to you about it afterwards, or at least they'll be impressed by it. Number 10, the Quran coach method. Very simple. As you do your daily Quran reading in English, get a good translation of the Quran, like the Oxford translation by Professor Abdul Halim, or Layla Bakhtiar's translation, which I have right here, the Sublime Quran. These are beautiful Quran translations. You can read it, and as you're reading, assume that every verse, the whole Quran is talking to you, and assume that every verse, whether it's about heaven, whether it's warning you about hell, whether it's telling you to have consciousness, whether it's taqwa, whether it's telling you to have more gratitude, every sabr, resilience, every teaching it's giving you, assume that it is encouraging you just to pray. So as you read it, don't just read it as if it's for you, read it as if it's for you, and the call to action is it's encouraging you to pray. Then every verse of the Quran becomes a source of positive encouragement and motivation. Number 11, treat Salah, your formal prayer, as a spiritual practice. Some people do Tai Chi, some people do yoga, you do Salah. And with that intention, you're aiming to be fully present during every movement and every stillness and every word and every silence. And you're aiming to increase and improve the quality of your prayer, just as you would improve the quality of your movements in yoga, the quality of your movements in Tai Chi. You want to improve the quality of your state of mind in prayer as time goes on. So take it as your main spiritual practice. Number 12, have a mosque day. Have one day when you're free, you don't have any work, you don't have any family responsibilities. Instead of just lounging about at home watching TV, take the whole day from Fajr all the way to Isha and stay in the mosque. And make every prayer on time, every time with all the sunnah. Do this for one day, you'll never want to miss a prayer again. Number 13, be grateful and I will increase you, says Allah in the Quran. Be grateful and you'll be increased. If you want Allah to improve you in any area, instead of looking at what's missing, instead of looking at the future and how far you have to go, be so grateful for where you are now and how far you've come. Wasn't there a time when you didn't even realize how important prayer was? Wasn't there a time when you didn't even realize Islam was the truth? Even for people who are born Muslim, usually there's some point where they really start to take the religion seriously. Wasn't there a time when you were lost and Allah guided you, as Allah says in the Quran? Well, in the same way, thank Allah for what you've got and Allah will increase you in it. The more you thank Allah for all the prayers you've made, the more likely you'll be to pray more in the future. And every time you make a prayer of thanks. Make a dua of thanks that Allah brought you to the prayer, and Allah will bring you there much more frequently. We can do nothing of our own. You can't get yourself to pray 5 times a day. You can only be blessed by Allah to be in a position where He blesses you to pray 5 times a day. That's why we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. After come to prayer, come to success, we say, there's no might or power to bring me here except God. These are the 13 methods. I hope there's been benefit in this. If you want more detail on each one of these, go check out the individual video. I go into a lot more depth into how to do each of these 13 techniques. Go check out those videos over there. And if you want to deepen your connection with Allah, become your best self, and improve all of your relationships as a result, go to mamoonyusuf.com/switch.